Derivatives education here at Schwab, and this is Getting Started with Thinkorswim. And today we're getting into lesson 6 in our series of 8 lessons that are intended to bring that brand new user of the Thinkorswim desktop platform right along to being very comfortable with the navigation and usage of the tools on the platform. Now, I know when I say that, this deep into the series, somebody might go, oh no, panic time. I missed the first 5. That's okay. I'll show you where you can find those first 5 lessons. And there's not really a need to watch them in order. They can kind of stand alone on their own. But today we're working on that Market Watch tab, understanding the tools that are available there. We're going to go through as many of those tools as we can, but at a pace that hopefully everybody can follow. So let's get into this. And of course, as we do, let me first of all say hello to everybody who's already chatting in. I've already been chatting back with those that are here in the live stream audience. Great to see so many familiar names as always. Hello there, Jim, Life in the Fast Lane, Go Rick. Who else do we have here? We have Joe and Eva and Paul and everybody else. Thanks for joining us week after week. We really do appreciate your attendance and your contributions to these discussions. If you are here for the very first time, I want to welcome you as well. And if you're watching on the YouTube archive after the fact, we'll enjoy the show, but be aware that you're invited to join us in the live presentation. If you'd like to be here, this is a Wednesday webcast series, and we kick things off right at 2 Eastern time. It'd be great to have you here in our live stream audience. And as a treat for my live stream audience and as an extra resource, I have my very good friend, Kevin Horner. He's going to be hanging out in the chats. Kevin's going to be addressing any questions that I can't get to during the flow of the presentation. Kevin and I have now been working together for years. So, Kevin, thanks for having my back there. Kevin and I would also like to issue an invitation to everybody listening. If you have an account on X, you should be following your favorite presenters there on that platform. It's the best place to connect with me, right? In between these live streams, X is where you can find me. If you reply to one of my posts there, I try to reply right back to you. It's where I can provide more up-to-date information when the live streams aren't live. So I'll love seeing you there as a follower there on X. You can find Kevin there at Kevin Horner CS. You can find me on X at Cameron May CS. But let's get into this presentation. And yes, as we go through these tools, we need to be aware that risks are real. So bear in mind this important information. All corporate issuer names and market data are shown for illustrative purposes only and are not a recommendation, offer to sell, or a solicitation of an offer to buy any security. Options carry a high level of risk and are not suitable for all investors. Schwab does not recommend the use of technical analysis as sole means of investment research. There's no guarantee that an execution of a stop order will be at or near the stop price, and past performance is no guarantee of future success or results. All right, so let's just outline what we've been doing and where we're headed today. So first 5 lessons, we focused lesson 1 on downloading and navigating the general navigation of the Thinkorswim desktop platform. Then we started getting into the individual tabs in some greater depth. Starting with lesson 2, the monitor tab. Lesson 3 was the trade tab. Then we got into charts, the scan tab, and the scan functions on Thinkorswim. Finally, that takes us, not finally, because we have 2 more, but that brings us to the Market Watch tab. Now, this is a great tool, a lot of resources there for tracking, maybe intended positions, keeping an eye on what's going on with the markets, gauging what's happening with new economic developments, a lot that can be done there. So we're going to go through that tab step by step, left to right, top to bottom, as we typically do. I'll explain as much as I can along the way. We're not going to be able to hit every single function. That's why we should probably be familiar with the paper money platform. That way we can experiment with a lot of these new and unfamiliar tools in a no-risk environment. So a couple of things that I want to get out of the way right away here is had some questions here. Cameron, is this done on Thinkorswim desktop, or is it on Thinkorswim web, the web-based version of Thinkorswim? This one is specifically for the desktop trading software. So I want to show you just a quick revisit of how that's downloaded. So if you're in your Schwab Online account, you just log in, you pop up to the Trade tab, and you'll find the download right here under the trading platforms where it says Thinkorswim desktop. We'll just click on that. And then right on the next page, you'll just look for a big blue button. Learn how to enable Thinkorswim. Click on that. That'll walk you through the download. It doesn't cost anything to download this, but it'll give you access to live trading and to paper money trading, practice trading. And you just log into the software using your typical Schwab credentials, your same username and password. Now, the other thing I want to make you aware of is that if you didn't happen to catch the first 5 lessons in this series, that's okay. They're posted to our YouTube channel. So do yourselves a favor, and if you haven't done this already, subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can find that down in the lower right-hand corner. You can just click on the subscribe button. That doesn't cost anything. It only takes a second. But our Trader Talks Schwab Coaching Webcasts channel on YouTube is where we house the playlists for our previously delivered webcasts. So this one, if you wanted to find, let's say, getting started with Thinkorswim, we can go to the playlist link right here and just scroll straight to the bottom. We have a lot of different webcast series. Mine happens to be the one that gets posted at the very bottom. There it is, Getting Started with Thinkorswim. Click on View Full Playlist, and you can see lessons 1 through 5 so far. So let's get into this discussion. All right, so going back to the desktop, right now we find ourselves on the Monitor tab. We've already gone through most of these other tabs. We're going to be coming back to the Analyze tab next week. That's a little bit of a teaser. That tends to be kind of a crowd pleaser. So I hope you'll put that in your calendar to watch that. But let's go to the Market Watch tab. And as we go there, we'll notice that there are a series of 5 sub-tabs, and we're going to be exploring 4 of those today. We're going to be going through the Quotes tab, the Alerts tab, Visualize, and Calendar. Financing rates, I'll let you explore on your own. But let's start here with the Quotes sub-tab. And for each one of these, as we go into them, just always be aware, you can come over here to the right, and if we are using one of these tabs, but we want to use another area of the platform at the same time and have them visible, if you're set up at home like I'm set up here, where I have multiple monitors, we can detach a tab once we've selected it. So now we're just looking at the Quotes tab as its own little window. So I could then drag that off to one side or the other, off to a separate monitor, and have that available and accessible while I'm using other areas of the platform. So let's acquaint ourselves with this Quotes tab. Here's the way that I think about the great value that the Quotes tab offers. This is where we can keep an eye on personal watch lists or public watch lists that are created by Thinkorswim that expand upon the functionality that's available already, that we've already discussed in this left column. So for example, if I come over here to my left column and I go to this watch list gadget, I might be able to launch, let's go to the Thinkorswim public watch list of the S&P 500 companies. Okay, just went down in alphabetical order there in the menu. Well, I can see the companies in that watch list. I can add some columns here, but there's kind of limited real estate to work with for those columns. The gadgets are tucked away to the side for some quick reference, but it does have limited space, and we can widen this out a little bit, make it a little less limited. Oh, what in the world? Did they move that all the way over? Kevin, this is something I'm just discovering right now. Since when have we been able to pull that that left column over so far? That's interesting. Was that with the release just over the weekend? Maybe so. Anyway, but this the Quotes tab here allows us to really expand on those features. So we can still access, using this initial menu function right up here in the upper left, we can find Thinkorswim's public watch lists displayed in alphabetical order. We can access our personal watch lists. But for this initial part of the discussion, let's just stick here with the S&P 500 companies. Now, for each one of these, as we're looking at them, we can see their symbols, obviously. But by default, we can see a bunch of other data available. And this is just the default data. You don't have to do anything to set this up. It'll just automatically populate on Thinkorswim desktop. But I can see the description. This is just the name of the company. I can see the quote trend. Is everybody familiar with the quote trend? This is just a tick by tick sort of color-coded display of what's happening with the bid and ask prices on the stock. So if I were to look at, let's say, STX here, Seagate, I can see green, dark green, light red, we'll call that pink, dark red. Every once in a while, we'll see it split into 2 like this. But this is just telling us, with the bid and the ask, are we seeing upticks or downticks? So if both are an uptick, we see if both the bid and the ask have most recently seen an uptick, that'll be a dark green. If they've both seen a downtick on the most recent tick, that's a dark red. If one or the other is seeing just one or the other seeing a downtick, that's a pink. If it's an uptick, it'll be a green. And then if, let's say, we have the bid going up and the ask going down, that's where we'll see a sort of a division here, where we see I just had one identified, it disappeared on me. Yeah, there's one down there. See that? So that's what this quote trend is. And so for some traders, keep an eye on things tick by tick. We can do that quickly, visually associated directly with the symbol. Is it read from left to right? Exactly right, Jim. Left to right. Okay. So this rightmost is the most recent tick, and you'll see that make its way to the left. Greg, you appreciate that? You're welcome. All right, then we can see some other criteria or metrics that may or may not be important to each trader. Every investor, every trader has their own preferred set of metrics that they like to see, but the defaults are going to be the last, which is the last trading price for our symbol stock. We can see the net change in price, the bid price, and the ask price, the bid size and the ask size. In other words, if somebody just bought on the ask, that's the size of the trade. If there was a sale, that's the size of that sale. Over to the right, we can see a running tally of the volume. You'll see that changing as we're talking. We can see the open, high, and low for prices throughout the day. And we can see the 52-week high and low. So that may be entirely serviceable. For some traders, perfect. Just what we like to see. For others, though, maybe they just want a different set of data. So, for example, in one of our webcasts previously, we set up, let's come up here to our personal watch list, and we created a scan for dividend stocks. So let's select that. Let's see which stocks are currently meeting the criteria for that scan. And if we load that up, we'll notice, hey, I'm scanning for dividends, and yet dividends are not one of the default columns. It sure would be nice to see that dividend yield as one of our columns. These are actually customizable. So if we come over here to the far right, we can click on the little gear icon, select Customize, and then we can start to rearrange the columns as is more appropriate for the specific investor. So let's say, for example, maybe our dividend investor doesn't really care what the last little tick trade size was. So how about we remove that bid size? Let's remove the ask size just to sort of unclutter the current set of columns. And then let's maybe add the dividend yield. So I'm going to type in DIV for dividend yield. Let's choose that here. Let's add that as a column. And then we can either click, see this is down here at the bottom. If we left it there, it would put this over to the right of the 52-week low column. That would be all the way over here. But let's suppose that we want this, how about we want symbol, then description, then dividend yield. A couple of ways we can do that. We can click and just drag it up there and drop it there. Or, back down here again, let's drag it back down. We can highlight it and then just click the up arrow until we like where we have that positioned. But once we've rearranged that set of columns as we like, we can click OK. And what that'll do is you're going to see the dividend yield appear as a column. But I want to point this out as well, because this one gets overlooked. This is one of those features that can kind of slide under the radar. Notice it says Save As. Specifically, this is saying, I'm going to save this set of columns. Maybe this is the set of columns that I like to use when I'm looking at my dividend stocks. And maybe I have a different set of columns that I use when I'm looking at my swing trading stocks. And I have a different set of columns that I use when I'm looking at my value stocks or whatever. But I'm going to click Save As. And how about we just call this our dividend column set. There we go. Let's just click Save. And you'll notice now, right up here, we have the leftmost menu is telling us which list of stocks we're looking at. These are the ones resulting from our dividend scan. And it's showing us which column set we're using. So if I were to switch again, let's go back to that public list of the S&P 500. Maybe we just want our default columns for that. We go back. Let's go back to our, let's go back to our personal dividend list. And in this case, maybe we want that dividend column set. Dina says you do not see the gear icon. It's over here to the right. Dina, there's a couple of possibilities there. Number one, you might be looking at this not on, I would guess that you're probably on Thinkorswim Desktop, but make sure that you're using Thinkorswim Desktop. That's number one. But also, we've learned that we have the ability to change the font size on the platform. And some people, their eyes aren't as strong as maybe they once were. Maybe they like to have very large font size. So we apply that, and things can get crowded. Now, it didn't actually crowd out my gear here, but should be there. Just be aware, if I demonstrate something and it's not showing up exactly the same way on your platform, commonly that's the culprit. So I'm going to pop back up here. That's not what I wanted. What have I done to myself? I never set it at this size. Oh, that's funny. Yes, I want to close that panel. It's not what I want. That's interesting. It is now so crowded, I can't find my... Oh, there we go. No, that's not it. Interesting. Oh, well. I guess I should not do that while demonstrating. It navigate into new territory I've never been to. Anyway, let's go back to our MarketWatch tab. So we've acquainted ourselves with these functions. I just want to make sure that I've covered everything I want. Oh yeah, one other thing. Before we move on, Jim, you like that? You learned something new on how to save that column setup? Excellent. Just be aware that when we've added new columns, or if we have a different, let's say a different priority other than just having the symbols displayed in alphabetical order, we can reorganize these columns according to a preferred column. So for example, maybe our trader's real point of emphasis here is that dividend yield. I can click on that dividend yield column heading, and initially it's going to sort it lowest yield to largest. Then I'm going to click on that again, and it's going to list that from largest yield to smallest. So you'll notice that reorganizes the rest of the columns to make sure that they're all still aligned with the correct symbols. So there's how we use the quotes tab. Let's move on to this alerts tab. An alert is when we are waiting on a specific condition of some kind, and we want Thinkorswim to notify us when that condition is met. So I'm going to set up a theoretical example here. Let's go to our charts, and let's take a look at Apple for just a moment. You'll notice Apple has just been in this downtrend for a long time, although more recently it's moved into a consolidation. And just earlier today, I sent out a post on X noting that Apple was already making a strong move as of this morning. And I wanted to see what my followers thought about what is the likelihood that X could get above these recent highs. But in any case, let's say that our trader here has noted this couple of things. First of all, they note that X is coming up on a horizontal area of price resistance. There's an immediate overhead price ceiling, apparently. Now, they may also notice that if we were to draw from this high and come down diagonally, we're also contending with that area of price resistance as well. So let's say that our trader is sort of technically oriented. They don't want to be buying just below or at obstacles on the price, at least as they see them. Maybe they feel a little bit more comfortable if we were able to get up to, let's say, $220, right? So just to help visualize that, let's say that we'd really be interested, that our hypothetical trader here really be interested if we could just get clear of these two obstacles. Maybe if we get up to 220, that's when they may consider taking some bullish action. Maybe it's stock, maybe it's an option. But in any case, they don't want to sit around and watch necessarily to see if it gets there. So here's what they might do. They may set up an alert. So I'm going to go back to our alerts area. And if I just now click on, while I'm on alerts, if I click on the ask price, that's actually going to start to create an alert for me. So an alert is just that notification that I'm talking about. It can be set up to generate a sound if we're on Thinkorswim, ding, a bell, or it can send an email, it can send a text. But let's tell it what we want, what condition we want, first of all. So Apple, yep, the stock. Let's say we want the ask price, the current price of the stock, to be at or above. And what was that price level? 220. And then we can give our alert a name. Let's say this is an Apple bullish breakout. This is just a message to ourselves to remind us, why am I getting this email or this text message? Oh, that's right. I was looking for an Apple breakout. So down below, we can see how that looks on our chart. So there's a little icon here that will show us approximately where that's going to be on our chart. Now this has a little arrow showing me that it's off the top of this small chart here. That's what we call our preview panel. But down below the preview panel, we can tell the system how we would like to be notified. So this is what we would like to be notified of. This is how that notification is delivered. So we can play a sound, a bell. If you want to know what the bell looks like, you can click on, or it sounds like, you can click on the little play button and we get that little bell. But we can also have an email sent. We can have a text message sent during US market hours or after US market hours or both. Oh, Villager says, hey, in the past, have you covered setting alerts using studies, looking for an alert when a moving average crosses? Maybe I'll do that later, Villager. I'm not going to be doing that today. However, I will be showing it how to, let's demonstrate how to generate alert using just, let's say, a line that we've drawn on a chart. Some people don't even know that can be done. All right, but you'll notice these three fields are currently grayed out. They are inert. I can't access those. That's because this is a demonstration account and I don't have an email address designated for it. I don't have a phone number designated for it because it's for demonstration only. But if we do want to set up that information, that would be done up there in that same setup field where we make our changes to our application settings. In any case, let's go back to our alert. Let's make that designation again, at or above 220. This is our Apple bullish breakout. Let's scroll down below. We can choose how we want that alert to be generated. Now, we can also include information to be included in the text message or the email that we receive. We want just the market price reported to us. Do we want to see the bid and the ask, the last and the close? Do we want some volatility or options related information delivered? We just check the boxes as we see fit. We can just check them all. Let's just select one. So we can unselect one at a time. And I'm just going to set this back to its default. Let's go with the market. Now, finally, down below, if I click on options, I can have this alert start at a specified time. So we can start the alerts being generated right now if we happen to get across above 220 today. Or if let's say we're going on vacation, we want those alerts to start after we return. If we happen to get a crossover at that time, we can have the alerts expire. So maybe we start them today, and if we don't get a crossover, within the next 5 days, we could specify that, set a specific time and date for the alerts to no longer be generated. Now, finally, down below, we can set what's called an alert for a reverse crossover. So if we want an alert if we go up above 220, do we want another alert if we come back down through 220? I'm just going to say no. So Yang says how to access Paper Money account for practice. So you download the software, Yang, and then log into it using your Schwab credentials. But as you're logging in, down at the bottom of the login screen, it'll ask you, do you want paper or live trading? So you just choose that, paper. There we go. So here, I'm not going to actually create this alert, but now that we've acquainted ourselves with that tool, I want to show a different way that alerts can be created. Let's go to our charts. And I've drawn in these lines here. And let's say that our trader, rather than waiting for the stock to rise to a certain price, maybe they want an alert generated if we cross over one of these lines. So once we've drawn a line on our chart, we can actually just right click on that line and create an alert with that drawing. So we can tell the system, hey, if the intraday, if the bar, in other words, the candle on Apple, if that price level happens to cross above this trend line, we might call this our Apple bullish breakout, or whatever we want to call it. That's not like you're obligated to use that label. Now this shows us right here, it's going to show us approximately where that alert is going to be generated. Now this one I used a little bit lower price, so that that price level is going to be quite close to where we are currently. And then we could just set this up with these other specifications. I'll just leave them those defaults, and I'm going to click create. Right now, as I do that, I can go back now to the MarketWatch page, and as I look at the alerts tab, I can see what's called the alert book. Right down below here, I can see the details of this alert. This is an Apple trade looking for an intraday price bar crossing above a trend line that I've drawn, and it's waiting to generate that alert. If we don't want that alert, we can just, if we want to cancel that alert, we can click the little circle with a line through it. We can cancel all of our alerts. In this case, we only have one, so it's not like we'd be doing significant damage here. We can cancel them all by clicking that. I'm going to cancel just this one all by itself. Okay, there we go. So guys, that is the alerts tab. We've gotten pretty well acquainted with the quotes, with the alerts. Now let's go to the visualize page. How many of you maybe just take a glance at this every once in a while to see where the strength appears to be on a given day among the different sectors or stocks? Guys, if you aren't familiar with the visualize page, I'm one of those that can appreciate something that's really visually appealing very quickly and can deliver a lot of information in a very short period of time. So Rick says, by the time the next class comes, you'll be able to follow along in real time. Excellent. All right. Enjoy those other lessons. But this visualize page is a summary of how different stocks in different sectors are behaving today, and then they're color-coded. They're grouped together by sector and then color-coded according to whether they're up or down today. Now, we can actually look in different areas of the marketplace. So right now, I have this set to the S&P 500. We can look in other areas like our personal watch lists. Let's just go back to the S&P 500, and I'll just explain how this is laid out. So first of all, you'll notice little letters here in a sort of a translucent box: information technology, communication services, consumer discretionary. What this is doing is it's taken, let's use information technology as an example. It's grouped all the companies that are in the S&P 500 that are in the information technology sector, grouped them by sector, and then it's drawn a line, or there's a wide space around that sector with the name of the sector in the center of it. So I can see, because of this little bit extra thick white line around that sector, all of these companies are in information technology. All of these companies are S&P companies that are in communication services. These over here are consumer discretionary, and so on. Then I can also see at a glance which companies are performing well today and which are not having the best day. A bright, let's call it dark. A dark green box indicates a stronger up day. A dark red box indicates a stronger down day. So with that in mind, take a look here. Which company is probably having the best day out of all the 500 companies in the S&P 500? And which sector is it in? Well, I can see there's ANET right down there. It is the darkest green, up 18% today, and it's in information technology. So it's really a quick way to see where the strength is. Okay, so which sector appears to be doing the worst today, and which company is doing the worst within that sector? Well, looks like, generally speaking, information technology is doing okay. There's a whole lot of red over here in healthcare. And if I look, there's a little tiny one. It's kind of squeezed down in here. The size of the box indicates the relative market capitalization of the company. Bigger boxes are bigger companies. Smaller boxes are smaller companies. So DVA down 8% in a generally struggling sector today. So a lot of information right there at a glance. And a lot of people that watch my webcasts are already familiar with this, what we call the heat map. But this is something, another feature of this tool that can be easily overlooked. Notice up here where it says visualization heat map, I can change that to visualization of what's called the index watch. And here we can select from the same watch list, public watch list, private watch list. How about for this one? Let's look at the S&P 100. John, you say good, green is good, red is bad. Let me rephrase that, because good and bad is actually determined by whether a trader is a bull or a bear, and then which way price is going. I will say green is up, red is down. Okay. But by selecting a watch list here, we can now just hover over these histogram bars and see comparatively which companies are doing the best and which are doing worst, but just in a sort of a different visual display. For some traders, this is preferred. But like I can see, Apple seems to be having a really good day. Now, no doubt, we already saw it on the chart. What's having the worst day? Well, if I slide over here, I can see that EMR is having a rough day in the S&P 100, and the size of the histogram bar indicates how far down from zero in percentage terms the company is, and the little line indicates how far the lowest point was during the day. For the green, the size of the histogram bar represents where we are right now. The line represents the best or the highest move for the day. And as I move down a little bit further, I can hover over these and it'll give me more details about the company. So as I hover over Emerson Electric, I can see more details about that right there. All right. So REW, you've asked a good question. REW says, for options, how can I look at a specific strike, say for Apple, the 215 strike for all dates, for example? It's a good question. It's just not in keeping with what we're talking about today. It would take me off track for this discussion. So you may want to check out my previous webcast where we've looked at other areas of the website. But there's our visualize page. We certainly have some time left. Let's get acquainted with the calendar. So this tool is a favorite for those that like to just keep an eye on, let's say, economic events, earnings announcements, splits, dividends that are being paid. So let's get acquainted quickly with how this can be used. First of all, be aware that we can load up the different watch lists again. So we can look for, let's say, any company paying, or let's say having an earnings announcement, or maybe we want to narrow that down to just the S&P 500 component companies. So let's do that. Actually, you know what? We were looking at S&P 100. Let's do S&P 100. All right. So as we change that, it's just going to be displaying S&P 100 companies. And we're seeing those earnings announcements for the month. Now, we can change the display here because it can still get a little bit crowded. Some people like to see everything all at once. Others want to see a little bit more granular detail. So how about we look at a weekly view? So these are earnings announcements from S&P 100 companies this week. So we can see the an icon indicating that there's an earnings announcement. We can see the symbol, and down below, we can see the details of those announcements down here below. If we need to, we can actually create a little bit more space down at the bottom if necessary, if we're using a big display like we're displaying right now. Now, we can also show we could show really any event. If we check the box for show all, it's going to show dividends, it's going to show earnings and conference calls and stock splits and Econo Day events, or we can just choose the individual events. So we've been looking for earnings. How about we uncheck show all and just look for dividends? Pardon me. Well, let me click on the thing that I intended to. Guess what? No S&P 100 companies are paying a dividend today. Okay, Billy says, interesting. You say you're more of an investor. Thanks for the info. Absolutely my pleasure, Billy. And what you'll discover is that there are some great tools for investors on the platform as well. For example, we talked about the fundamental tab, the fundamentals page in a previous webcast. All right. But going back to our market watch and our calendar, we can navigate back and forth from month to month or week to week using the back arrow and the forward arrow. But let's, how about we load this back up with earnings? There we go. And as we go forward and backward, we can see which companies are having earnings in other weeks. But everyone, we've actually done it. We've accomplished what I set out to do today. Today's focus was using the tools available on the Market Watch tab. So we've gone through quotes, alerts, visualize, and calendar. Next time, we're moving on to the Analyze tab. Right? That really does tend to be, as I said earlier, a bit of a crowd pleaser. A lot of people like that tool, but it is one with a bit of a learning curve. So put it in your calendar to join me next week. This webcast is scheduled to be archived to the YouTube channel shortly. I always have to sort of disclose if there's some sort of technical glitch, a hiccup, every once in a while, a webcast doesn't make it to those archives, but this one should be available shortly. But everybody, I will look for you next week. I want to make you aware of some other resources available, though, to you between now and then, because we have the live webcasts. But also make sure, if you haven't done this already, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. You can go down to the lower right-hand corner, click on the subscribe button. It literally only takes a second, doesn't cost anything. But this is where we house our completed webcasts. So go to Trader Talks Schwab Coaching Webcasts on YouTube. You can find the playlist for completed webcasts right here. You can join the live streams there. And you can do keyword searches for webcasts from Schwab that maybe address a specific topic that's important to you. Now, Kevin and I would also like to issue an invitation to everybody listening. If you have an account on X, you should be following us there. That really is a great additional educational resource. It's where I can communicate with my audience in between the live streams. So, for example, look at what we've covered just today, just a little while ago. I posted this question for my audience. What's the best piece of investment advice you've ever received? I think that'll be interesting to read. I wanted input on this move that Apple was making. You can see earlier today, we weren't quite as close to that recent price ceiling, making its way even higher. But I want to know, does my audience think we're likely to push through that price ceiling and advance further? Or do we think it's more likely that we get pushed back from that price ceiling? Of course, we can go further still. Just this morning, I posted a 2-minute video on how to track sector strength on Thinkorswim Desktop, and nope, it actually wasn't using that heat map. This was for tracking over a range of time frames. So yeah, a lot of additional learning that can happen and communication that can happen there. If you reply to one of my posts, I try to reply right back to you. It's typically, for me, 20 messages back and forth a day. So everybody, you can find Kevin there at Kevin Horner CS. You can find and follow me on X at Cameron May CS. I'd love to have you there as a follower. I'm going to let you go, everybody. Go enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of our webcasts. I can see about 143 people watching right now, and already 50 have clicked the thumbs up. That's always appreciated. If you watch one of our webcasts and you enjoyed it, click that thumbs up. It lets YouTube know that you've enjoyed the webcast. It lets me know that you've enjoyed the webcast, and it also gives the webcast a boost in the YouTube algorithm so more people can find it and learn stuff like how to use Thinkorswim. All right, everybody. I will see you in a future webcast. I'll also look for an X. Kevin, Kevin, thank you for helping out in chat. But to my audience now, I want to say, whenever I see you again, until that moment arrives, I want to wish you the very best of luck. Happy trading. Bye-bye.